into it. So our first topic for today was cancel culture. So there's a whole host of people, celebs and others that have come under fire with the threat of being cancelled. There's some that say free speech is at stake in this debate. I'm going to go to Abdel first. Abdel, what's one of the ones that stands out to you from this whole cancel culture debate?
Well, I think, yeah, cancel culture is like, it's good to like tackle most issues like racism, politics stuff, like homophobia and all of that. But sometimes the people need to like think about it before they like start cancelling people. Like, example, Kevin Hart, yeah. His one was for making a homophobic joke. He was...
Are you going to get us cancelled? I didn't know I was going to get that deep that quickly.
I don't know.
What's your thoughts on it?
No, but here's the thing though. I've got an explanation for his shit, for his stuff. Yeah. So he made a homophobic, like apparently he made the homophobic joke. But what he said was he doesn't want his son to be gay. Yeah, as a joke, as a stand-up joke. Yeah, but what I think is that these days people don't really pay attention to what your intentions are. What they look at is more of like the words that you say. But I think people should pay more attention to those person's intentions before deciding to like cancel them or like set them a punishment. Because his one was not to hurt someone, it was to entertain like everyone else. And I think like a person like him, most of us, yeah, whenever we're depressed, yeah, if you ever switch on Kevin Hart, I promise you your depression will just go, like you start laughing the whole time. You get me? So like counseling someone like that valuable, like someone that helps with everyone's mental health. Of not everyone, but most people, like especially like me, like if I'm depressed, I'll just turn it on, start laughing, and then I'll forget about everything. So if we got rid of him, that would be like we just lost someone that's doing something to help the society. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
I hear you. Chloe, what's your initial take on it?
So I heard something quite interesting. I was watching, so Jamila Jamil was on, I think it's the Smiths, you know, Jaden Smith and her mum and Jada, isn't it? They have a round table kind of
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's so, I think it's like the Red Table Talks or something.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how it's actually really hard to cancel anyone. So she used to like throw abuse over Twitter and stuff like this, and she was holding her hands up saying, I've done it, I was trying to get back at, it was kind of like, this is going deep again, but at females who were, she was annoyed at men for the way they treated her, but she was taking it out on the females. And so she was kind of like using social media in those ways, and she was like branded as the most hated person on the internet, or most controversial, I think, person on the internet. And she was saying, but actually it wasn't the people like trying to cancel her, but it was actually like, she was saying particularly in women that they cancel themselves because they don't fight back. They like either feel the shame or they feel like they don't want to be part of this because they're getting trolled and all this hate online. So they actually end up cancelling themselves, and that she felt like it was a lot more towards females, like the hate will kind of continue. People don't forget it as easily. Whereas with guys, that it seemed like in her, obviously she's in radio, DJ, whatever else, that the guys were all right, like pretty soon after they do something funny, they're back in the media. The media loved them, whereas the media had something against women. She was saying, you know, she turned up to a festival and she had put on a bit of weight, and that's what everyone was commenting on, rather than how good she'd won awards for that festival. So they were commenting on all the wrong things because of the social expectations of women. So I think it's an interesting, I haven't kept up with like all the cancel culture within like pop culture in general, but I thought that was a really interesting point. That is cancel culture like as relevant as we think? Like, can we actually cancel people just from what we're posting? I don't know.
I hear you. Yeah, and Jordan, thoughts?
Well, yeah, I think that was quite a good point. And also, like, I think that culture and social media has like moved on quite a lot in the last couple of years. Like, it's changed a lot. And I think that our expectations of our celebrities is changing a lot and is kind of constantly evolving. And certain things that, you know, may have been okay to tweet 10 years ago aren't okay to tweet anymore. And so it's kind of that like interest in how we kind of responding to them, how we sort of, again, it's right. How do you cancel someone? Do you just stop following them? Do you kind of never watch a movie they're in again? It's an interesting concept and something that I think is almost still being discovered, and we're trying to find out what it really is. And yeah, it's kind of that crazy thing really, where I feel that there's a lot of like celebrities that have just sort of thrive on the controversy anyway. And so they'll sort of do things to sort of get cancelled and try and like, yeah, make the situation about themselves just to sort of sell whatever, maybe it's an album, maybe it's a film, whatever they're in. So it's kind of like an interesting thing that some celebrities are actually trying to utilize to, get them more famous, where we're trying to like still figure out what happens. Because obviously there are some like bad people, like bad celebrities that have done some very bad things, which kind of leads me to that question, which is like, can you separate the art from the artist? I think that's quite a prevalent question in this like conversation, really. I think it's a little bit, you kind of have your own interpretation of that. Because I think I can separate the art from the artist, but I know that a lot of people can't, and so therefore it becomes quite a sticky conversation, doesn't it?
One of the things you guys touched on was kind of the time period there, which we're discussing a bit before we got into it, Eminem. And I feel like where he came from in terms of the decade he come from, the 90s, it's like largely incompatible with everything that I see going on right now. There's been many a questionable song lyric that came out of the 90s. Which for the most part, I feel like people have no business going back there. If you didn't live through it, it's best to just leave it contextually. But do we feel as though there should be a line between, because we were talking about tweets earlier sent in the past and such, should there be a line that says this was like 10 years ago in a different time period? It's, you know, it shouldn't be a thing in the same way.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, just to butt in a second, but there's actually one that I remember like recently, and it's very like off topic, but it's there was a guy that used to like do songs of praise, and he basically tweeted something like, again, 15 years ago about somebody, and it kind of all came to light. And yeah, it was kind of an interesting one, because I in my head was a bit like, oh, it was 15 years ago, like give the guy a break, like he's changed, he's, you know, probably doesn't even have that same mindset that he did. But yeah, still people kind of held on to it, and he actually got he got kicked off Songs of Praise if I recall it properly, which is a bit mad, really. So yeah, I think that there is a line that sort of needs to be drawn, but it's quite difficult, because I think that like, how do we do that? What year is it that we decide to take? You know, is it from 2005? Yeah. But I mean, obviously, I'd like it to happen, but I just don't know what year you'd cut it off at.
Yeah.
I know. Chloe, what do you think? Your grandparents, can we judge them in the same way?
That's actually a good point. Going from what Jordan was saying, though, is like, I don't think it's so much as that the times have obviously changed what we say. Like, there was that guy on I'm a Celebrity as well. Jack Maynard, I want to say. He's a YouTuber, and people just want to hate, I think. So some people, they're out to hate. So maybe with Songs of Praise, it's one of them where it's like, you find it, you think that's scandalous as to like the kind of thing he's doing now. So it's like a reason to hate that person. And I think we can so like easily judge because of what they're doing now, whereas we should, rather than like the time that it was said at, think about who they are now, because we've all changed. We're not the same person we were 10 years ago, and probably aren't saying the same thing, like no matter what age you are. So I think like, yeah, people used to say stuff that they thought was maybe funny isn't anymore and is now like a homophobic slur or is a racist, whatever it is. Yeah, our grandparents, it's a different generation. They perhaps don't know what they're doing. So it's a hard line, isn't it? As you said, Jordan. But yeah, Junior, I don't know, with grandparents, you try and change their minds, but they're not always willing to change. But I think it's an understanding thing, like whether they know what they're saying is wrong or what they're even saying. They probably don't know the backstory of where that word comes from or whatever it may be. So I guess it's just about education and like not judging people from like stuff they've said in the past in terms of the tweets and stuff, and trying to move forward, look at where they are now and like help them grow rather than like think about what they used to say.